Mid-America's biggest and best recreation area, we bring you Lakeline, the only television magazine of features, sports, and news of Lake of the Ozarks. Join Byron Grimes, Deborah Collins, Troy Treasure. And now, from the anchor desk of Lakeline, here is Matt Zini.
Thanks, Judy. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Lakeline, the only news magazine show of Missouri's Lake of the Ozarks. Coming up in the next half hour, gun dealers from across the United States converged on the lake this weekend for the annual Midwest Gun Dealers Show. Also, a look at a proposed sales tax for rental boats and how that will affect area marina dealers. And the granddaddy of all motorcycle clubs, the Hells Angels, held their international meeting at the Lake of the Ozarks. We'll also take a look at just one recreational activity of young people, that of clogging. Plus an interview with Don Holloway, plant superintendent of Bagnell Dam, concerning the area river stages and how that is affected by the dam. All this plus a whole lot more in the next half hour on Lakeline. In the 1950s, just the mention of Hells Angels would strike fear into anyone's heart. And now, more than 30 years later, that motorcycle gang is still around, but their public image has somewhat changed. Byron has more.
The word spread rapidly, and soon radio stations in central Missouri were tracking the progress of the bikers. But if anyone was expecting a large parade of Harleys, they were soon disappointed. They came in groups of 2 or 3 and seldom more than 6, spread out over a 4-hour period. Some went to motels throughout the area, but the main group headed for Novicki's campground on the North Shore. The Angels had rented the whole campground and promptly closed it to all except their members. Biker Rick Menard explained to press that had gathered at the gate that they weren't looking for trouble and just wanted to be left alone. The Angels were supposed to be near Hannibal, Missouri, holding an international reunion of club officers. In an exclusive interview with Lakeline, Mike O'Farron of California explained why the sudden move from northern Missouri to the Lake of the Ozarks.
Well, evidently a couple feds approached the gentleman that we had some private property reserved, and he got cold feet.
So then you made a decision to come to Lake of the Ozarks. Who made that?
Well, we went up to Taylor or Tyler, I'm not sure which, to the Harley dealership up there, and one of the guys there told us about Novicki's, and here we are.
All right. What have you found since you've been down here in difference in treatment?
Everybody's treated us great. There's naturally a little excitement or tension, especially with the police buildup, but that's the normal procedure, I guess. You know.
What do you think about Novicki's?
Oh, they're great. On 8 or 10 hours notice, they are handling it, and that's rare.
The Lake of the Ozarks, and in particular the Bagnell Dam area, is quite used to bikers being part of the tourist traffic, and it didn't take long for the Angels to become just another group of tourists. They could be seen throughout the area, mostly in groups no larger than 2 or 3, or just by themselves, like taking the UE tour through Bagnell Dam, doing the things that tourists do, like spending money.
Very favorable. I found them courteous, easy, you know, they are in, they are buying merchandise, and so we're trying to help them, and as far as I'm concerned, everybody's a welcome visitor.
Peter Luckchuck of Pilkington's had solved a money problem for one foreign group.
Well, there's some of the cyclists had flown in from British Columbia and rented a car and driven out and had Canadian currency, and were having a little difficulty in trying to find anybody who'd either accept it or change it. So I talked to the main branch of the bank here and got the appropriate exchange rate, and I understood that they would be able to cash it.
You know what? All the locals have been great. We haven't had one single problem, and I don't expect any. There's good food in the restaurants, and contrary to what I'd heard about the prices being outrageous, I don't think they are. I got a hotel room with 2 bedrooms and for $55, and that's not bad in my book. I think we never really had any problems with the local agencies. What happens usually is the feds come in, they stir up, they say we're going to rape, pillage, and plunder, and everybody gets all excited, and nothing happens. We haven't had one incident in 5 years.
The groups will head back home on the 20th, when the reunion is scheduled to end. And as the familiar black jackets roar down the highway, small towns along the way will hear,
you know, reasonable amounts of bills, and also that I am accepting Canadian currency.
O'Farron told us they appreciated and were amazed at the treatment they were being given by the merchant. The Hells Angels are coming. The Hells Angels are coming.
Thanks, Byron. And last I told you about a visit from the Hells Angels motorcycle group as they spent a week at the Lake of the Ozarks and attempted to create no problems. Well, tonight we're going to take a look at exactly what did happen the past week, also an interview with local law enforcement officials, and a special interview with one undercover officer who has spent the past 13 years following motorcycle groups.
During the entire week that the Hells Angels were here at the lake, they made every effort to avoid trouble. They traveled in 2s and 3s instead of the normal biker formation of several hundred. There were no reports of drunkenness or brawling with locals. Max Schutz, Lake Ozark Police Chief, talks about the bikers.
They came into the area. We were familiar with their background. Some contingency plans were made to handle it if it got out of hand. We kind of planned on it getting out of hand, and as the thing turned out, it didn't.
However, there were several incidents. An Osage Beach officer witnessed a non-angel attempt to force one of the angels into an accident. In Lake Ozark, someone stole an angel's bike.
There was another incident a couple of nights before where some guys came in, proceeded to hassle the bikers, tried to start a fight, and as far as we were concerned, was trying to earn a name for themselves.
We were also told of a shooting. One source told us the shot was fired from a passing auto at one of the bikers. Miller County Sheriff Gerald Whittle explains the shooting.
The shooting is still, word is now it was an accidental shooting that happened in the campground.
The Angels also drew other tourists to the lake. Police officers, uniformed in plain clothes. An undercover officer who spent 13 years with bike gangs told Lakeline why he was at the lake shadowing the Angels. We have distorted his voice for obvious reasons.
I feel that any of the officers that were there were not really surprised that the Hells Angels as a group did not cause any kind of disturbance and or what they're somewhat known for, rowdy behavior, etc. The main purpose for officers like myself to assemble and do somewhat of a controlled surveillance of their activities was for the purpose of obtaining the reason why they were there. And that remains to be seen as to whether it was a reorganizational meeting, willingness to cooperate with law enforcement officials, travel in pairs and or 3 or 4, no more than 4 or 5 at a time, to keep the low profile, indicates to me that they did have a definite purpose other than just a annual get-together.
The Angels donated nearly $600 to the Meals on Wheels in Eldon, took flowers to a bank teller, and spent a lot of money. But small towns have been torn apart by biker riots. The infamous Hollister, Cleveland, closer to home the Rockaway Beach near Branson, and more recently Sedalia.
They have had problems with other gangs in different areas. They may decide this is a place to hit them. Yes, it creates a problem, it creates a situation that you normally don't have.
It's a situation that's the proverbial powder keg looking for a spark. I don't think it's healthy. Once every 10 years would be about all I'd care for.
Local competition for the National Youth Frisbee Championship took place.
Black Harleys, a blue moon, and no bulls. Lakeline is next. Lakeline, the only television magazine of news, features, and sports from Missouri's beautiful Lake of the Ozarks. From throughout the lake area, Highway 5 to Highway 54, North Shore, Horseshoe Bend, Shawnee Bend, Turkey Bend. And from out on the waters of Lake of the Ozarks, this is Lakeline.
Good evening, I'm Byron Grimes. Welcome to another edition of Lakeline.
And I'm Mike Bissell. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in tonight's show, there's been a rash of break-ins in Lake Ozark and in the Lakeland area of the North Shore. Tonight, Lakeline takes a look at those break-ins. Also, for the first time in 34 years, there will be no J-Bar H rodeo.
Plus, we'll bring you up to date on the Water Festival, which will kick off on the 10th of August and run through the 18th. 20 activities have now been firmed up, and several others which were tentatively planned have been scrapped. and we'll point our camera to the sky for a look at a blue moon.
The Hells Angels Motorcycle Club is back at the lake for the second year in a row. Tonight we'll take a special look at the Angels and their Harleys. These stories and more coming up in the next half hour.
Right here on Lakeline.
Friday evening, 3 bikers were visiting at Novicki's campground on the north shore of the Lake of the Ozarks. Shortly before 6 o'clock they left, heading east on Highway W towards Bagnell Dam. According to an eyewitness, one of the bikers lost control of his bike at the junction of Highways W and Lake Road W22. He then skidded approximately 100 feet into the westbound lane and into the path of a car driven by Lynn Hopkins of the lake area. Hopkins saw the biker coming and was able to come to a full stop, but both the bike and the biker hit the car at the lower front left bumper. Miller County Ambulance and Lake Ozark Fire Protection District rescue squads responded to the call. 37-year-old Arthur Montanero of Garden Grove, California, was pronounced dead at the scene after attempts to revive him failed. According to Miller County Coroner Doug Griswold, he died of massive head injuries. A spokesman for the Hells Angels said he was not a member of the motorcycle club, but was here as a guest. 2 Hells Angels traveling with Montanero were not involved in the accident. The first of the Hells Angels arrived in the lake area on Monday. By Friday, 200 of the Harleys were here, making their headquarters at the Osage Motor Inn and the Cove View Campground west of Osage Beach on Highway 54. Following the famous motorcycle club was a contingent of state troopers who set up a mobile command post. But Osage Beach Police Chief John Page told us he didn't expect problems from the Angels.
We changed shifts a little bit, put people on standby, of course. Not as much as anticipation of problems with the Angels themselves, but potential problems of outsiders interfering with their activities.
The motorcycle club also brought out of the area news teams to the lake. Electronic media and print journalists looking for exclusive interviews and a big story. Almost every hour all week long, another news crew would pull in and be told to please leave. One Angel told us on Thursday the media was beginning to be bothersome. They kept repeating that they were here on vacation and like any other tourist would like to be left alone. Other than the accident on Highway W, there apparently have not been any other Angel-related incidents. And so far, there also haven't been any problems with local police.
No problem, no problem. Everyone in the whole town has really been good to us. The police officers, right on down the line. Everyone's been right on the money, you know. And like we always say, if someone treats us good, we treat them better.
The big Harleys have become a fascination for residents and tourists alike. People even posing in front of the bikes to snap a picture to take back home. We thought you'd like to know a little bit more about the Harleys, so Byron talked to the Angels about their bikes.
Well, it's an American-made motorcycle. We're American Motorcycle Club. And we want to back our own economy, not another country's economy.
What kind of mileage you get out of them?
I probably get about 48 miles a gallon on that. I can go over 200 miles on a tank.
It is one of the American traditions right off the get. So, you know, we stick with that, and we don't mess with no import bikes.
How many different models of Harleys are there?
There's several different models, full touring bikes with saddle bags and tour packs, and then you got the cut down Sportster model that's more of like a little small, slim, racy motorcycle. Then you got the like a low rider.
What's most popular on one of the Angels?
It's most likely a 74 style bike, a big twin motor for, they really pull the freeway good, you know, the motor ain't singing, the bike is always in power range, and for what we pack and everything, you know, the 74 really turns out to be the most of the bike for what we need. The average Joe citizen would love to have a Harley if he ain't already got one.
You never see a job piece of between these thighs. Give me a